All right, what's up, everyone? Today I'm just going to do a quick walkthrough of an interesting trend I started to see with DWAC. If you're not familiar with it, obviously it's Truth Social's SPAC that's going public. I mean, it's already gone public, but let's dive in and see why the trend is moving today. So if we go over to our social sentiment dashboard here, what you'll see is this tracks essentially all the tickers across Twitter, StockTwits, Reddit, really to find trending tickers. And this is why I mentioned something interesting in terms of DWAC. So if I go to the last 24 hours, move down, I'll notice DWAC has popped into the 6th position, and this is on Twitter. So in the last 24 hours, we see that there's been over 1,600 tweets, 32,000 likes, and almost 7 million impressions. So typically in the past, DWAC has not been in the top 10, but obviously recently with the recent release of Truth Social available on the Apple Store, I think this has popped up back into the top 10. What's interesting, like I mentioned, we've seen significant increases in impressions, likes, comments, and posts. So this means it's gaining quite a bit of traction, at least in the last 24 hours on Twitter. Let's check out what the thread and some of the top users are saying. So obviously the big launch on Monday, that's interesting. The #1 downloaded on Apple App Store. That's pretty big news. Who else? Okay, this person is saying DWAC is their main watch. I think that makes sense. You know, given the hype around it and support we're going to see with DWAC. What else do we have going on? Yeah, I think the anticipation around this stock will drive a lot of the price action tomorrow. Especially because so many people are aware of the ticker and it has a huge following. Let's see what people are saying most recently. Yeah, I think they still need to release it for Android, but it is available on the Apple Store. But as I mentioned, the reason I wanted to bring this up is because it did pop into the 6th position on Twitter. Let's see how it's doing on StockTwits. Okay, this is very interesting. So DWAC is the second most active stock on StockTwits in the last 24 hours. Again, this is pretty significant, given the various tickers that are typically being talked about. So obviously SPYs is the main one, Tesla, a bunch of other bigger tickers. So this is good to see if you're a DWAC investor or maybe even thinking of buying into DWAC. Why don't we check out and see kind of a little bit more about the stock. So just looking at its 52-week range, if you've been following DWAC already, you'll remember that, as a SPAC, it was trading just shy of $10. And then in, I believe it was late October, October 21st is when there was kind of that major run and everyone started piling into DWAC. Kind of the month or two leading off after that, we saw it drop a little bit. But then really kind of in the new year, starting in 2022, we've seen it slowly continue to climb up. And I don't think there's a reason that this can't hit another $100, at least in the next kind of few weeks, I'd say, if not week. You look at the overall price performance. So if you'd invested $10,000 in DWAC, when it first kind of launched, you'd be up $74,000, which is a pretty good return on your investment. In terms of recent news, it's interesting. Just looking at this, so Investor Place, they're probably going to run news that's both positive and negative for DWAC. That's just what a lot of these sites do. So don't try to bet on or against Digital World stock. You'd be crazy to short Digital World, and then why you should avoid. So they're playing both sides of the coin, just trying to get some clicks. But why don't we look at some recent analysis done by some Utradia users? So this one, October 21st, that's really when it first launched and was available for purchase. So DWAC worth $100 fair market value versus Twitter. So I'm just going to scan through here, and essentially I think the argument is if we look at Twitter, okay, so based on, I believe, the number of users, this person's saying that DWAC should be at least 10 to 15% the valuation of Twitter. Okay, the number of people who voted for Trump, that makes sense. Projecting 100 million users globally. Okay, that's fine. What else does he have? Okay, this guy talks about his previous history. So he said long AMD at $10. That's an awesome call. Tesla 200. Obviously, if you got into that early on, you're laughing. What else? Okay, gold at 420. I wonder if he's in any crypto, but either way, interesting analysis. I'll link it to the video so you can check it out. Let's see the other few that were posted. Okay, this one is understanding DWAC TMTG's value prop. So since this person posted, they've already had a return of 58%. I mean, that's solid, considering this was posted in December 2021. So again, I won't bore you guys by reading through the whole analysis. I'll link it at the bottom of the video, but I'll just highlight a few interesting points here. So talking about different social media outlets, obviously Facebook, Twitter, streaming, websites. Briefly touches on the SPAC structure. Okay. Definitive merger agreement, obviously with Trump Media. 90% dilution factor of about 5.2, so 80% dilution of the company. So if it's at $54 a share, market cap at 10 billion. Okay, shares will be converted into TMTG. I need to figure out what date this will happen because it's something you'll want to know as an investor. Okay, let's jump into the value prop. Okay, upside potential, compared it to Twitter's IPO. Okay, saying social media is a small aspect of the business model, which is interesting because I'd argue it's probably their major aspect, but we'll see what this person's saying. So looking at kind of, I guess, comparables, Netflix, Disney, Hulu, Discovery, looking at their paid subscribers. So if Trump Media, okay, assuming it goes down kind of the media route, similar to like a Hulu or Discovery. Okay, if it achieves 10 million subscribers with only 1,000 per sub in market cap, justify current market cap of 10 billion. Okay, so that's saying per subscription with 10 million users times $1,000 per sub, it gets you at the 10 billion market cap. That's obviously quite a bit of a stretch. But essentially the argument is every 10 million subs is an additional $55 in share price. Okay, then he looks at the monthly active users, which I would argue is probably a bigger aspect. So comparing to Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, Snap, Twitter, you have a mix of valuations by user. So TikTok about $400 per user, Snap $264, Twitter about $100 per user relative to the market cap. So okay, so 100 million users at an additional 55 to the share price. Okay, so going at the lower comp of Twitter at $100 per user, this would mean, again, an additional $55 in the share price. Okay, he's included some revenue projections in terms of their pro forma revenue over kind of the next, 4 years. Okay. Now, granted, so this analysis was done at $54 per share. I think it's a little above $80 today. But essentially, with some conservative estimates, we're looking at anywhere between $400 to $600 per share This person also addresses the FUD around Truth Social and DWAC. Again, I'll link this below so you can go into it. And conclusion, a lot of upside demand that isn't priced in. Okay, yeah, I think that makes sense. This is a pretty thorough analysis. Again, I think you guys should check it out when you have time already. It's made 58% return, which is pretty solid. So yeah, just wrapping up, essentially, like I said, this came across the screener, noticed it was trending on Twitter, stock twits, dove into it a little bit more, and you can see that, there's some decent thoughts and analysis around DWAC and why it should be a valuable company moving forward.